This is Becky Nunn with Nunn Design, guest designer for Beadaholique. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use two-part resin with a translucent pigment to create curved bangles such as these. You'll want to have watched the video that I did on how to texturize epoxy clay. You'll also want to have a good knowledge of how to mix two-part resin, and there's quite a few videos that you can see on Beadaholique about that. You'll also need a transparent resin dye, some big cups, and some stir sticks. I've already mixed my two-part resin in a larger size container and then poured a small amount into this container. I'm going to add just a few drops of the transparent resin dye to the resin and fully mix. You want to do this when the resin is nice and fresh, and then you'll set it aside for some time until it starts to get fairly solid. You'll have to just keep on coming back and seeing how solid it is by lifting up your stir stick and getting a gauge. I've continued to come back and check my resin over time, and this is the consistency that I'm looking for. It's starting to get quite settled and very thick, and now I'm ready to drizzle it onto my bangle. So you want to take a small amount on your stir stick, place it down, and you're going to start to apply it onto your bangle. You might want to start with a thinner bangle like I showed you in the samples. It'll be much easier to do. But I'm just taking my resin and I'm applying it to my curved surface, bringing it over to the edges. I'll probably go back in on those very tight areas with a toothpick just to make sure that I don't get the resin on the sides. And then you're going to be rotating the bangle with your fingers and applying the resin. I'm ready for some more. And you're going to want to make sure that you've allowed a lot of time for this project. This is a intermediate project. It's not a beginner's project, and it does take a lot of time because you'll be needing to babysit it throughout the process. When I mean babysitting, we're allowing it to turn, and as you can see, it's starting to drip. And by rotating it continually, you're allowing it to not pool up into a ball. So I'm coming back in and bringing it over to the side here and continuing to rotate. And if you start to have it pool up, don't freak out. When you turn it, it'll start to pool the other direction. But this is why it's really important to spend time dedicated just to this project. If you get any on the side edge, you can go over with a wet wipe and clean it up. So I'm rotating it back and around as it starts to pool. There are resins that are designed to work on a curved surface, And we're actually not using that right now. We're just using the resin that most people have readily available, a 2-part resin that's typically used for a flat surface that you can dome nicely with. But instead of having to buy a second type of resin, you're able to use the resins that you already have. See how that one's running? That's what we're going to be constantly rotating it and making sure that we catch those pools. I'm going to switch back over and see how we're doing over here. Doing good. Whoa! That happens. See, I already had my finger there. It's a good idea to make sure that your fingers are on the bracelet at all times. Finger check. And then I'm going to rotate it and continue on. And then at any given time when you need more resin, you just pour a little bit more on. You might want to start with the thinner size bezel first, because this one's very wide and it will take a lot longer to complete. Drizzling on and moving about. My resin is actually a little more thicker than I think I would like to have, but I'm making it work. So when you're working on this project, and if it's not as easy as I'm making it look, you've got to give yourself some time to figure out how to do this. And it's not like I've made a ton of them, but you get better with time. So I made a full circle there, and I'm just pulling my resin. You saw I had an extra large clump of it, and I'm just pulling it forward and just going through and making sure that I have all my edges covered and that I don't have a lot of excess, because I want to make sure that that pattern is still showing up. And if you have a lot of excess, you can remove it the same way we put it on. Just putting it back into the cup. And I actually like it when it's, you know, has different quantities. It just, to me, it makes it look like it's more handmade. There's just no way you can make this look on a machine. And I think that that gives it a lot of interesting, that glaze makes it really interesting. So now, you know, when I said that you're going to want to babysit this and not be too busy while you're doing this project, is because I'll let it sit like this, and I'll come back like every five minutes or so, and then just kind of rotate it around a little bit more to make sure that I don't have a big glob of resin starting to form at the bottom part. And what that would look like is right here. You can see that I got distracted. I think I answered the phone or whatever. I just didn't realize that it wasn't yet completely done with that globbing phase, and so I left it. And you know, even though it has that glob on there, I just really think that's cool. You know, mostly because it just gives it that, you know, this is a unique piece. While we're letting that last piece cure, it'll take up to 24 hours before it's finally cured and you're able to wear your fun little bangle. And that is how you're able to put 2-part resin with a translucent pigment over epoxy clay. This is Becky Nunn for Beadaholique. I hope you enjoyed it.